It's one of those movies. One of those movies where you're gonna go back in the past to change what happened in the future, but we gotta make sure everything stays the same so we don't change too much of the future, because what you do in the past will affect the future.
What?
It's another time travel movie to correct all the issues that happened in this series so far. Bryan Singer comes back to the X-Men franchise. I guess he's been back because he was in X-Men First Class. He worked on that one. The director that worked on that one was Bryan Singer. Well, he's pretty much gotten the full reins, and he's like, you know what? Let's go ahead and mix 1, 2, and 3 with the new series, with the First Class series, and fix the X-Men course and reset the timeline, because the first 3 movies was and First Class was like, and now Days of Future Past, which is one of my favorite of the series, Bryan Singer's like, let's do it right. So, on this episode of Movie Breakdowns, let's go ahead and review X-Men Days of Future Past. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. What's Movie Breakdowns? Movie review show. We're looking at new and old movies, giving a grade A through up, plus and minuses do count. And if there's a movie you want me to review, let me know. Please put in the comment section below, and I get to as best I can. I also have a Patreon, Patreon/Ali Zakka, and on that Patreon, you get first come, first serve, because you're paying for my services. If there's a movie you want me to review, I'll put it up there immediately. Everybody else has to wait, who won't watch it on Facebook and YouTube. But on Patreon, nope, there's no waiting for you. You get it like that. I also have another tier on Patreon where you get movie review, trailer reaction, much more stuff. Now, let's go ahead and get into today's review of X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, before I get into spoilers, my first thoughts, what is the movie about? Well, the future is in a very bad state. Like, the Sentinels had taken over, the machines have pretty much conquered the future and have hunted down mutants, and people who are helping mutants, and people who might have mutant kids have been hunted down. It's up to the last remaining mutants, Magneto, Wolverine, and Charles Xavier, and a few others, to go back in the past and correct the choices that will cause the events of the future. That is what this is about. And the only person who can go back in the past is Wolverine. Wolverine's got to go back and meet the new cast of X-Men, the Jane McAvoy cast, and try to get them to work together to change the future. That is what this is about. Now, my first thoughts on this movie. I love this movie. I've seen this movie so many times. I remember when I first watched it, I was like, this movie is phenomenal. This movie is great. And Beast actually looks like Beast. He doesn't look like a cat thing that he did in First Class. Like, this movie to me was so good, and every time I watch this movie from beginning to end, every single time. There's one scene in this movie that really irks me. I feel like the CGI doesn't hold up well in it, but other than that, everything else is freaking great in this movie. Like, the first act is great. The ending of the first act with Quicksilver is phenomenal. I went and listened to that song, Time in a Bottle. I downloaded it, I listened to it, I had it on repeat for a whole 2 weeks straight. That song is great, the scene is great. I repeat, like, I watched it on DVD. I stopped the DVD, rewatched that scene over and over and over again. I probably watched it like 5 times in a row because it's just a phenomenal scene. The slowing down of everything, because everything's happening so fast for Quicksilver. He is moving like that. So for us to see him move, they slowed it down in a point where, like, it's full speed for him, it's slow for everything else, and it is great. With the fire extinguishing, water falling on people, the sprinkler systems going off, and the water is falling in slow motion, the metal, because Magneto is there and he is flopping the metal up. It is phenomenal. simply phenomenal. Just grade A, chef kiss, great scene. Great scene. And then the second act, the ending of the second act where they're in the treaty in France and they're trying to sign the peace treaty at the end of the Vietnam War, and they're getting together about this conference and trash that they're talking about mutants. And that second act where Magneto is going after Mystique and they're trying to get away, that act is great. And then the ending of the movie where you see in the trailer Magneto picks up RFK Stadium or FedEx Field. Actually, I think it's RFK. I don't think it's FedEx Field. Matter of fact, let me Google that real quick, guys. Yeah, RFK Stadium, Robert F. Kennedy Memorial Stadium, RFK, which is the home of the Washington football team. He picks that stadium up, literally carries it from one part of DC to the other, and drops it around the White House. And the scene that happened with that and the resolution that happens with those events, it is great. I kind of already got into spoilers for a movie that came out in 2014, I believe. Yes, 2014. I already kind of dropped spoilers out for this movie, which let's talk about that with 2014. Cause it is a spoiler review, guys. Like, this movie been out since 2014. It's 2021 now. If you haven't seen this movie, you need to get on it. But this movie, when it came out in theaters, let me see how much it actually made here. So, box office and budget. Budget, $200 million. Estimated. Opening weekend made $90 million. In the United States, it grossed $233 million. So it made its money back in the United States. And then worldwide, this movie made $746 million. Good Lord. But this movie deserved that. This movie was freaking great. It is freaking great. And besides, one scene that bothers me every time I watched it, I noticed it when I watched it the first time. I noticed it watching the second and third and fourth. I probably watched this movie at least 8 times now. It's the scene where Magneto, let's get into spoilers right now. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, turn away. But I might get into spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Magneto decides to infiltrate Trask's Sentinel transition. Trask is sending the Sentinels from one part of Washington, wherever he's working at on the East Coast. He's sending it to Washington, D.C. Magneto gets into the truck, finds the truck, and hardwires the Sentinels with metal. And this scene is done at night, but it's like computer CGI, and you can see the CGI. And that's one thing that, like, it bothered me a little bit. I notice it every single time, but that's it. That's it. The rest of this movie is phenomenal. The storyline is great. The writing is great. The directing is great. That's what's great for having Bryan Singer come back, because not only did, like, he knew what the first 3 X-Men movies were, he tied that into the First Class cast. He tied what happened with that into that movie, into this movie with Days of Futures Past. He merged so much stuff together and didn't lose continuity. Like, you got to see, like, okay, this makes sense. Heck, he even answered the question on who's the real Stryker, because in First Class you have Charles Xavier talk to a guy who's Colonel Stryker. He's talking to Stryker and he says, "You're worried about your son." Now I'm thinking that's Colonel Stryker Sr., because the Junior, who's the one who has a son named James, I think he's Stryker Jr. I'm not sure it's the actual Stryker Jr. at all, or it's the same Stryker. They just really de-aged him in this one to make him a younger character, because Bryan Singer's like, oh, we actually messed that up. But Stryker in this one is the Stryker that messes with Wolverine in X-Men 2, who gives Wolverine the adamantium claws. This Stryker is in this series, in this movie, and know he's a bad character. If you're following the series, you know he's a bad character. And the series kind of even tells you, like, this is the same guy, don't worry. Bryan Singer does a good job of kind of like retconning everything and make sure everything kind of flows a little better. There's still some plot holes with the X-Men series. If you're a huge X-Men fan or somebody who's going to nitpick this movie because you're trying to figure out why this doesn't connect with that one, there is some of that in this movie. Like, for example, Magneto's in prison because he killed John F. K., which he was trying to say he was trying to stop the bullet from curving, but couldn't stop it from curving, but never explained how come he couldn't stop the bullet. What happened to him as he was trying to stop the bullet? Did he get attacked when he tried to stop the bullet? There's nothing that really expressed that. You don't really get to know what happens. Or after the movie is over and Wolverine changed the future, he's the only one who remembers the past. Nobody else does. So I wonder what that Wolverine was doing. The one he wakes up, the body he wakes up in 50 years in the future, I wonder what that Wolverine life was, because things change. Wolverine doesn't remember anything from 1973 to 2014. So what happened? I want to know. Or I guess not 2014, 50 years into the future. So what happened? I want to know. Like, I want to know that Wolverine story. I want to know what happened to that Wolverine. Like, apparently that Wolverine didn't have a thing for Jean Grey. So this Wolverine, the past / future Wolverine does have a thing for Jean Grey, and I want to know what happened. I want to know what happened between 73 and the current present state of the X-Men when Wolverine wakes up in the future. There's so much about this movie, the plot hole that leaves open that I'm like more curious about. But as far as the story is telling, it did a good job telling that story. And there's other things, like, for example, Trask is in X-Men 3, The Last Stand, and I believe the actor's name is Bubba Dukes. Let me see here. Sorry, it's Bill Dukes. Bill Dukes plays Trask in X-Men The Last Stand, but then in Days of Futures Past, and I guess because it's a different timeline, he is Peter Dinklage, which are two different actors, two completely different actors, and I guess you can get away with it because this is a different timeline now, I guess, so the events just be slightly different, but the First Class crew is supposed to be the X-Men 1, 2, and 3 crew, so how do you get Bill Dukes and Peter Dinklage? I completely understand that Bryan Singer didn't direct the third X-Men movie, so therefore he probably would have had Peter Dinklage in the third one. I don't know. At least try to make it as close as possible. You need to get Bill Dukes, make the guy another character, but that's fine. Trask is played by Peter Dinklage in Days of Futures Past. And I actually want to know, oh no, it's still Bolivar Trask. It's the same guy. Same guy. Just two different actors, and they were like, yo, they'll be okay with this. But yeah. So things like that stood out to me. Those things I really wanted to know and just figure out, like, okay, what's going on here? But as a pure storyline, this movie was great. It just written well. From beginning to end, you can follow the movie. You're not getting lost. You can see what the main plot is. We're gonna go back in past to get Charles and Xavier and Eric to work together. Eric Lyncher, that's his name. I forgot what Magneto's last name is, but get them to work together to try to stop the events of the future. What caused the events of the future? Well, Trask kidnaps Mystique and uses her DNA to make the Sentinels to change and morph into whatever being or whatever element or whatever case it can turn into to stop mutants. So, for example, Iceman was fighting a Sentinel at the beginning of the movie who decided to heat up and turn to fire to fight Iceman, because Iceman turned to ice and decided to heat up and turn to fire to beat him. Turn into opposite element. There's another guy, I think it's Hotspot, his name. He's fire or lava, and he is trying to burn a Sentinel. The Sentinel turns to ice at one point, and then later on in the movie, it turns into a rock and turns into metal or diamond to fight him. So it adapt and change and more to beat the characters. Well, they got that adaptation from the shapeshifter herself, Mystique. So Wolverine got to, with Charles Xavier, with Magneto, got to stop Mystique from getting captured at the peace signing in France in 1973. I believe is the year they go back. Yes, 1973. I already said it multiple times already. I'm not sure why I've lost that. But in 1973, they go back and stop that. Which they almost did, and they almost didn't. Because they get there, Eric decided to go, Mystique is the cause of our future problems. Why don't we just kill her now? And you're like, why? We was almost there. You was almost at the goal post. You almost scored a touchdown. You pulled Deshaun Watson and Deshaun Jackson, not Deshaun Washington, but Deshaun Jackson, and throw the football at the end of the line, into the end zone, and not get across the line. Okay, but there's more movie, so we need to get more movie. So that's why they did that in that scene. But you understand the character's motivation once again. You understand where everybody's coming from. You understand why Charles Xavier is now walking again, not in his wheelchair. And James McAvoy really expressed that. He brings that out of Charles Xavier to say like I don't want the pain anymore. I want this to end. And Wolverine has to help Charles Xavier get back to his feet. Like, those little things in this movie is great. Heck, the one thing I wish they would have done more, had Quicksilver more in this movie. But Quicksilver is so OP in this movie, so overpowered in this movie, that he would have ended the whole movie, to be honest. Like, have him run up there, punch out Mystique, drag her back, done. Have him run up there, freaking knock Magneto's helmet off, done, end of the deal. But you gotta have a movie, you gotta have tension. The reason you told him to go home, so you don't have that issue, that plot hole of like, Quicksilver's not here to save you guys. So that tension of, okay, how they gonna get out of the situation? Heck, there's one thing I saw, and to me, maybe because it's me overlooking it or looking too much into it, but Magneto legit traps Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and throws him into the water. Almost in a sense to say, we're passing the torch from the old cast to this new cast here, because the new cast is what finished the movie. They're the ones who kind of finished the conflict. They ended the issue, and then Wolverine wakes up at the end in his bed 50 years into the future, and kind of get like a cool scene where he walks around the X-Mansion and he sees all the old cast from the first 3 movies, and get to see them like the one last like hoorah, one last roll call, and each one their own little element when he finally meets Charles Xavier for the final time and asks for details of what happened. This movie's great. I love this movie. I love the movie. I love the ending scene where Mystique is forced to make the decision not to kill Trask. You know, she really wants to end his life. She doesn't do it, and then Trask goes to jail. So it works out for the best. It works out for the best. I love this movie. I think this movie is great. Phenomenal movie. Written well, done well, directed well. The one scene that bothers me is that CGI scene where Magneto kind of breaks into the trash cars and decides to wire the Sentinel with metal. Also, I don't remember when he picked up the designs for the trash information. Did he take it off of Mystique? Did I miss that? Every time I watch it, I don't remember when he got that. I just know he has the information and he was watching it. Don't know when he picked it up. Don't remember when he did it. But yeah, I love this movie. Alright, let's talk about the cast. So Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, great. Would I need to say anything more? I do like the little things with Wolverine, and this could be directing, this could be on Hugh Jackman too. But like, Wolverine no longer has the adamantium claws. So there's a scene where he like reveals his claws again. He's like, oh yeah, that's right, they're bone. And he gets shot. He goes, God damn it, like they hurt more. The bullets hurt more, but they fall off because he's not metal anymore. He is pure human flesh. So it's taking a little longer for him to heal, but he's like, okay. Or he walks through a metal detector and he looks up like, oh, didn't go off. Neat. Like, it hasn't happened to him in years. I love that. I love future Wolverine back in the past and experiencing stuff in his past self. Like, okay, well, they expect it to be like this. They expect it to be like that. Okay, neat. Give him props to that. Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique. This is mostly Mystique's kind of movie. This is more of her set in the future and everything is depending on her. Thought she did a good job. Thought Jennifer Lawrence did a good job with Mystique. And I also like Mystique's design in this movie compared to Days of Future, or compared to First Class, which looks more like the costume design was a little off. This one, I felt like it got her more looking like Mystique in the first X-Men series. So good for them. James McAvoy, Professor X, bloody great, just great, brilliant, all the way, phenomenal. Waterwords, just awesome. McAvoy does a good job making you feel the pain and sorrow of Charles Xavier, making you feel like for this character, making you feel his scared, like his emotions. Great. Michael Fassbender is Magneto. He doesn't really change. He's the same guy from day one, and at the end of the movie, he's still the antagonist. You know, he was a sub-antagonist. He wasn't the main one. Trash was the main one, but he becomes the main antagonist, and you're like, this dude's ruining everything again. Thought he did a good job. Elliot Page, who played Kitty, she did great. Like, the First Class, really. Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, Halle Berry, Sean Ashmore, great. Daniel Cudmore, who's Colossus, great. They did great. Props to them. They're good. But yeah, Elliot Page, who's Kitty, Shadowcat, Patrick Stewart, Professor X from the past, or I guess the future Professor X, or the main X-Men Professor X. Ian McKellen as Magneto. Who else? Halle Berry as Storm. Sean Ashmore as Iceman. Just give them props for what they did. Colossus, props. Daniel Cudmore as Colossus, props. William Stryker, who played by Josh Hellman, he did a good job. Didn't think there's anything off with him. It's just weird that guy is the other guy in the X-Men series, and they just changed Stryker so much because they haven't got like the exact Stryker they wanted. Peter Dinklage as Bolivar Trask, freaking great as well. Peter Dinklage did a good job bringing it. Nicholas Hoult as the Beast, great. Evan Peters as Quicksilver, freaking loved him as Quicksilver. I think everything that he did, the goofiness, the kind of like wide-eyed kid who's like, all right, cool, I'm here kind of thing, have a way to have fun, get a good job, let's do this. I like that character. I think this Quicksilver was great in this hair design, the design look of him. Like his hair's always brushed back because he's moving so fast. I like it. Great. Who am I missing here? No, that's it. This cast is a great cast. Good all around. Good acting. Phenomenal. Don't know what else to say about it. All right. Let's talk about music. Music is okay. It doesn't really stand out. It's fine. CGI. Besides that one scene with the truck at night, other than that, the CGI in the movie is great. You really don't really notice it. You're like in awe of some of the spectacle of this movie. It's I guess I should say you don't notice it because the movie is CGI. Like the future's all CGI stuff. But it's done so well where it doesn't take you out of the movie. And I think that's what I mean by you don't notice it. When you're watching CGI with human people, live action people, you know what I mean by that. But like, you don't get taken out of it. Sometimes you watch CGI and you're taken out of it. For example, the X-Men, or the Wolverine, not X-Men or Wolverine, but the Wolverine, the Silver Samurai and the CGI, you're like, I'm taken out of this movie. But in this one, you're not taken out of it at all when you see the CGI and the special effects, besides that one little scene at the train, or when they're moving the Sentinels along. I keep bringing that scene up because it just stuck out like a sore thumb to me. But other than that, great. Alright, is this a Friday night movie? Yes. Watch with your friends and family, have a good time, and grading time. I'm going to grade X-Men Days of Future Past an A-. This movie gets an A- for me. Some of the plot holes there, kind of like, oh, okay, well That doesn't make sense. Well, how did this happen? What has happened? I kind of want to know more. In that scene with the night scene where Magneto going in and adjusting and changing the Sentinels was kind of like, But other than that, this movie is phenomenal. This movie is great. The writing of it, the storyline, Act 1, 2, and 3, all of it flows together. It's a phenomenal movie. It's great. The cast is great. Music, it's okay, but you know what? The movie's not based off the music. Like, the music is not going to hold you in your seats, but the cast will. The set pieces will. The epicness of seeing RFK Stadium get lifted up, Magneto just bring it on over to the White House, and I also love how this series bring you back to a certain point in time and make you believe that this is actually happening in that time. And I think that is great too. Like, them had this Richard Nixon impersonator and doing a good job with that, making you believe that's the actual president and he's actually experiencing these things. It's kind of cool. So I love this movie. It's phenomenal. I can watch this movie any day of the week and still be satisfied from beginning to end. So, hey, mine as it is. If you've seen X-Men Days of Future Past, what did you think? Please put in the comment section below. Other than that, thank you guys for watching this episode of Movie Breakdowns. I really appreciate it. I love you guys. And keep being awesome. Thank you guys for watching this episode. I really appreciate it. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Also, you want to see what else I'm doing in my normal life and other things that's going on, please follow me on Instagram at Ali_Zakka. I'll put it right here around my face. Yep, right there. Also, if you want more episodes of Movie Breakdowns or Grind Towards Success or whatever it is I'm doing on YouTube, you know what? Follow my page right here, like I said before, the little comment thing right there, And then you can watch the last episode of Movie Breakdowns right here, and watch the last episode of Grind Towards Success right there. Other than that, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate y'all. See y'all next time. Keep being awesome.